All right, so the last section that we're going to talk about in chapter 3, it's not out of the book, it's a separate section that we're going to add, is using your compass to draw parallel and perpendicular lines. This is our chapter on parallel and perpendicular lines, so it does make sense to put it here. This will be the last time that you use your compass for this year in geometry. So hopefully you've got a good compass in front of you right now that won't wiggle too much. Remember that you aren't going to want to hold your compass on the pencil side. You always want to hold it on the end with the sharp point on it. And then it's easiest if you spin your paper instead of trying to move your hand and turn it in a circle. It's a lot easier if you keep the compass in one spot and move your paper. So we're going to look at how to draw perpendicular and parallel lines. We're going to start on the perpendicular side of your notes. They're always going to give you a line and a point, and sometimes that point is off of the line and sometimes it's on the line. So there's really only 2 steps. Number 2 says, with your compass, put an arc on either side of the point that's on the line. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your compass and you're going to make 2 intersections on this line. Okay, it just has to cross the line twice. So we're going to make an arc here and right here. Okay, so you always just want it to hit the line 2 times. Doesn't matter where, as long as it hits twice. So you've created these 2 points where they intersect. This is where you're going to put the sharp point of your line. Okay, we're going to create an X with your compass down below the line or above the line, it doesn't matter. But you're going to take your compass, start over here. Doesn't matter which one you start with. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw an arc. And then you're not going to move your compass. You're going to move it over here to the other point and draw an arc there as well. So your picture should look something like this. If your arcs didn't match or meet, you need to just open your compass wider and go back and do those same 2 arcs again so that they're actually going to intersect each other. And then you're going to take your straight edge and you're going to connect the original point with that X that you made. And what you've just created are perpendicular segments. Now, regardless of if the point is on or off the line, the rules don't change. So we still want to start with the sharp point on the dot. Okay, and we're going to need an arc on the line 2 times. Okay, so we'll put an arc here, put an arc here. All right, we've created these 2 points where it crossed the line. That's where the sharp point is going to go now. And in this case, we really do have to open our compass wider, because if we would draw an arc right here, it would cross right through that point, and we want it to be off the line a little bit. So we are going to open our compass a little bit wider so that we can make our arc. And then I'll move this over to this point so I can make an arc here. And now I have the X and our original point that we can connect with a straight edge. And again, we have perpendicular lines. So that's the perpendicular line construction. Same rules for both. Make 2 arcs on the line, and then you're going to move the sharp point to those intersections that you drew so that you can have an X to connect to your point. All right, so moving on to parallel lines, which is actually very similar to something we've seen before. We did a section on using your compass where we copied an angle, and that's really what we're doing here, is copying an angle to make some parallel lines. So if you flip your paper over, you'll see these points. 5 steps. Well, 4 steps, because number 1 is they'll give you a point and a line. So what they're wanting you to do is to draw a parallel line that goes through the point. Okay, so with your straight edge, we're going to draw a transversal through the point, and then it'll intersect that line as well. Okay, so we're going to draw a transversal. So use your straight edge. Should look, well, it can look like anything, but typically, and I'm just freehanding this because I don't have a straight edge in front of me here, but you should have a perfectly straight line. So that's just your transversal, obviously not the parallel line. Okay, so we're done with step 2. Step 3 is with your compass, draw an arc from the intersection of the 2 lines and from the given point. So we're going to draw 2 arcs. So this just has to cross through both sides of that angle. Okay, it can really be any opening. Typically, we try to make the arc so that it's inside of this point up here, that it wouldn't be beyond the given point. Okay, and then we're going to keep this compass opening and make another arc up above. So we have 2 arcs. And we haven't moved the compass. We have to keep that same opening for both of those red arcs. Okay, step 4. We're going to measure the arc with our compass, meaning how long is that first red arc that we drew. So what you're going to do the other way. You just want to have the sharp point on one end and the pencil on the other intersection. Notice how I have the compass right now. Okay, so you want to measure it, meaning opening your compass to exactly how long it is. Make a little mark there. Okay, it doesn't matter which end you're making the mark on. You could have the mark on the bottom part of the arc as well. Okay, and what we're going to do is move this up here so that the sharp point is on the part of the arc that we already know. We know it's that long. It's going to stop there, but we want to know where it's going to stop on the bottom part of it. Okay, so if we take this arc and we make a mark there, we know that that has to be the same length arc as the one down below. So now they're the exact same length, and what you're going to do is take your straight edge and connect your intersection there to the given point. Now notice you can already tell with just estimating where the line will be that the lines that we're going to draw are going to be parallel to each other. So use your straight edge and we will get parallel lines. Now if they aren't exactly parallel but you have all the right arc marks, you're going to get 100% on this part of the test. Okay, I'm just making sure you remember the process and you can get at least close to parallel lines. Now let's think about why this works really quickly before we do the homework. If you're looking at these angles where the red arcs are, let's call this angle 1 and this angle 2, we made those angles the exact same size. Now think about all the different angle types that we've talked about, the alternate interior, consecutive interior, the corresponding, and the alternate exterior. Think about what type of angles these are, and if those angles are the same, then we know we have parallel lines. Think about those sentences we learned in 3-3. So angles 1 and angle 2, they are corresponding. So the reason we know that these lines are parallel to each other is if corresponding angles congruent, then parallel lines. So you have a worksheet where one side is drawing a parallel line, the other side is drawing a perpendicular line to get some practice for our test next week.